I don't want no gravestone when I go, and you could plant a tree. No gravestone when I go, carving my name for me. You can tell everybody they'll find shelter in the shade as the sun hangs from my branches. My eternal bed is made. When the earth is my bed sheets and my body is a shell, let my rings count the stories that only time can tell. I don't want no gravestone when I go, and you could plant a tree. I don't want no gravestone when I go, carving my name for me. Carving my name for me, yeah. Whatever I should tell, but if you should cut me down, I'll keep you warm by the fire as my embers kiss the ground. Yeah, yeah. I don't want no gravestone when I go, and you could plant a tree. Yeah. Don't want no gravestone when I go, carving my name for me. Yeah, yeah, carving my name for me.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Bizarre and the Unknown. I'm your host, E.D. Tesserman. We got the man with the plan, Mr. Brian Paul Tremblay, in the house today. Well, all right, Brian, how you doing, my bro?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Man, hey Scott. I tell you, I'm still trying. I just got home a little bit ago, and then I had to restart my computer. So I'm like, oh, man, everything just got up and going about the time you got on backstage. I was like, oh, this thing is going to kill me. But no, it was a good turnout today. Huge crowd today. Huge crowd. I don't even know. I'm thinking we probably hit 200-300 people today that showed up. I mean, it was a big turnout. Yeah, I don't know the numbers yet, but it was a good one. But I was kind of happy to be able to get home in time. That's why I shot you a message. It's like, hey man, I'm home in time, and we'll bring it on because this Gugwe is as we was kind of talking backstage. This Gugwe is an interesting critter, and it's one that I feel it's not everything that we are taught now that it is. I think it's like we kind of talked about. It's two different things. So that's why I kind of wanted to do this. You brought this up back before I'd got all that Bigfoot vocals, and then ended up changing that show. And you had to, you had your deal you had to take care of. So I did the Bigfoot vocals that I caught, and so I've been waiting to do this to get you on because, man, you got a lot of knowledge when it comes to Gugwe, a lot more than I do. So this is going to be just as educational for me as it is for everybody else in here too. So
Yeah, dude, it's a
but
fascinating.
it's good to see everybody. Yeah. Well, it is, because for me, like I was talking about, for me, Gugwe comes from the Ojibwe, which is face eater, which is in some of the ancient or some of the old stories, it says that they were like hey William, they were like Shiai Tonka, but they got into a dispute over humans because, and I think if I remember correctly, this was roughly about the time the white man came around. Some of them wanted to hunt and eat the humans. The others was like, no, we just need to stay away and leave them alone. And that is how I always knew as Gugwe being, as Gugwe became Gugwe. I mean, I could be completely wrong. That's just what I've learned.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot to cover with this. So,
yeah. Hey, Deidre. By the way, William and Corey, great show this morning. I was watching that on my way home and a little bit before I came live. Haven't had a chance to finish it, but you guys did a great job this morning.
William always puts on the great.
Yeah. I mean, it was good to see Corey on there because Corey's getting ready to start doing his shows.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's Boondock Mojo is going to be the name of his show, if memory serves me correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, but I believe that is going to be the name of your show, Boondock Mojo. So I'm looking forward to that popping up.
That's a cool name.
Dude, yeah. It's almost, every time I think about it, I'm like, dude, we need to take on some cryptids, man. But so, and then we was talking, the Micmac was another one. But I kind of agree with you. Micmac does not sound just like Gugwe. It does sound different. And that's what I want to hit different aspects besides what we hear all the time. We always hear the same story from content creators everywhere we go. And I want to get other versions of it as well, because this is how we learn. We learn by listening. And then just because we say something, it's like I say all the time, it's like William says all the time, don't take what we say for granted. Take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Come up with your own opinion, your hypothesis. Yeah. This is another approach to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry, I'm going to hit just real quick here. Corey's my brother. He is always allowed to come on the podcast. Open the invitation. Hell yeah. Corey's been on my chats before.
Sweet.
And yeah, he does good. Deidre said powerful show this morning. Heck yeah. So let's jump into the Gugwe side of it. I want to hear your side of the research that you've done and kind of compare notes on that.
Okay, so with the Gugwe, right, it is known by the Micmac, the Ojibwe, and the Iroquois. But here's where the problem comes in, though, bro. So with the Ojibwe and the Iroquois, they're not talking about the Gugwe. What they're talking about is the Genasqua, okay, the Stonish giants that live near the Canadian border. They live in Canada. And they're very aggressive towards human beings. Now, when you go to the Micmac side, the Gugwe were actually called the Kukwes, okay? And it referred to a type of being that was as tall as the tallest pine trees. It carried a basket on its back, and it actually hunted kids. It would take kids and put kids in its basket and take them to the cave to eat them, okay? So there's one detail that people seem to skip over when talking about the Kukwes/Gugwe. They're always female. Okay, so if somebody's seeing a male Gugwe, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. So we have to look at the Micmac traditions and look at how they describe them. They're taller than the tallest pine trees, which means they're giants. Okay, so they have more in common with the Zuniqua, the basket ogress, than they do Bigfoot.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's actually a good point, because we know through legends, through bone discoveries and other stuff, we had giants here in the United States.
Yeah,
at one time.
In fact, William and I
we still have them. Possible. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, bro.
William and I were discussing giants the other day. When you look at modern day accounts of giants, they line up with the indigenous tales of giants: the red hair, square teeth, the nasty attitude where they hunt human beings, so there's something to those giant tails. But with the Gugwe, the slash Gugwe, she wasn't described as a redhead. She was actually described as a black-haired female that was very big, so I think we're taking the term Gugwe and we're kind of turning it into something it shouldn't be. Now, see, like William said, Dinopithecus, that's something we have to look at right there.
And yeah, I mean, me and William covered that on the show Friday night, I believe it was.
Yeah, I was watching.
I mean, it was a really good show. Yeah,
Yes,
and like the one picture we had different opinions on what it is, but doesn't mean that I'm right and he's wrong, or he's right and I'm wrong. It just we have different opinions, and that's what I love about this stuff.
Sure.
But that makes a lot of sense because I mean, listen to the Paiutes. The Paiutes talk about a cannibalized tribe of Indians that hunted and ate them to the point that they got mad, cornered them in a cave, and burnt them up in there. So and then that Lovelock Cave, and they actually found scorch marks in that cave.
Yes, they found handprints too, the giant's handprints on the wall.
Yeah, and they found the remains, but the Smithsonian took them out, and you can't find them anymore. Surprise, surprise there.
So here's the thing, though, with the Smithsonian. All right, so with the Smithsonian, if it's a one of a kind, it doesn't go on display. Okay, so in order for them to display anything they found at that cave, they'd have to have numerous copies of that artifact. All right. Now, if there's just one, that one of a kind is actually tucked away for safekeeping. They don't want to put a one of a kind on display like that.
Yeah, but there at the same time, I mean, there's been so many giant bones found here in Missouri alone, not counting all the other states. So, is it truly one of a kind?
Well, I mean, for them, it would be. If they didn't make that find, then it's not theirs to claim. So they can't say, "Oh, we found this. We're going to put it on display." It has to be something that was found by one of their archaeologists or one of their professors in order to display there. So,
yeah.
But
I can see that because I've known maybe.
So with the Gugwe, though, like I said, we're kind of making misinterpretations with the Gugwe because you have to look at the Micmacs. Okay, the Micmacs is where it all began. This is the root of the Gugwe story. All right, so you have to look at how they described her because it's always a woman. It's always a basket ogress, so to speak. So we can't label, the baboon face, mandrill face thing as a Gugwe really because it's not what the Micmac described. Like I was saying with the Iroquois and the Ojibwe, they spoke a Genoskwa. Genoskwa is completely different from Gugwe entirely. They don't have anything in common, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's no worries, William. Take it easy, brother.
Get to feeling better, brother.
But I mean, I get that. No worries. And that's where I like this because I want to hear other opinions besides what I'm always being told. So, because I never knew that they were known to be taller than pine trees. I've always heard them they were shorter. Hey, Jessica. I've always heard they were shorter, very, very aggressive, extremely aggressive. But then you hear the other reports, I mean, which I've heard them taller, but from what I remember, most of the actual Gugwe ones, they don't go past 9 foot. But then you hear the stories of some that's over 9 foot. So that's where I've always like, man, it sounds like something else. And that's why I wanted
I think the name Gugwe, though, we're misusing it. It's one of those things where people look at indigenous folklore and they kind of like how the name sounds. So they're like, oh, that's what this is. And they kind of use it to verify that something exists when we can't really do that. It's something that I was talking about with you backstage is people take all these different interpretations of creatures from indigenous folklore and they're like, oh, well, that's Bigfoot, but they don't look at the details. So with the Gugwe, though, all right, like I said, the Gugwe is where it all began. The basket ogress of the Micmac legends is where it all started. So we have to look at that and be like, okay, this is where it began. So somewhere along the way of what I think happened, somebody thought the name Gugwe sounded really cool. So they kind of Americanized it or, made it into an English term and they used the term Gugwe because it sounded neat. So I think there's a lot of misinterpretation here and we're calling it something that we shouldn't call it.
Right. So you don't think it's actually Gugwe itself? You think it's something else, basically?
I do because you look at things like Nahanni Valley. Okay, when you go to Nahanni Valley, they didn't call them the Gugwe. They didn't say they were the face eaters. They called them the Nukluk. Okay, that's what their name was the Nukluk. It didn't mean face eater, but they did describe them very similar to how the Gugwe are portrayed in pictures, with the long snout, the very aggressive attitude, the tendency to eat human beings. And in the Hani Valley, there's a lot of people that are found without their heads. Okay, so the Nukluk are behind it. Well, we can't say it's the Gugwe though. You know, we're taking a term from indigenous lore and we're making it whatever we want to be, and we don't have the right to do that.
No, I get that. I mean, and that's, man, yeah, I didn't even know that part. So, I mean, that adds a whole new outlook on things. And that's, I mean, and that's what I love about this. I love when people can get together and talk about this, because we need to know this stuff. I think this is very important.
Yeah, we do.
You know, because I've always grown up, like I said, on one way. So, sorry. Hey, what are you doing, buddy? Knocking things around. Sorry.
There's a lot of confusion. And I think, you know, like I was telling you earlier, I think when people want to take the indigenous Bigfoot and apply it to modern day sightings, they have to look at the details. Like, don't just look at the name and go, oh, there you go, that's Bigfoot. Look at the details, look at how they describe it, and take it from there.
Yeah.
So,
you know, because I mean, a lot of the stories on Shiai Tonka, you know, they're, for the most part, they're peaceful unless you piss them off. I mean, even the stuff I deal with here, I mean, you can hear one. I mean, I had tapping on my window last night while I was live on Campfire Chats, which is something that happens quite often here. And I wasn't the only one who heard it. There's people in the chat that heard that too. You know, I've never had a bad experience with them. Now, that's not to say something like that won't happen. I mean, I'm a firm believer they have different emotions, different mentalities, just like we do. They're called Elder Big Brother for a reason. You know, they're in a way a bigger, taller, stronger, hairier version of us. You know?
I would agree.
Hey, Darius. They sound interesting, but being angry is not good. No, that's true. You know, and I've had nothing but peaceful for 32 years. I've had nothing but peaceful reactions here.
Right.
And I've always kept it that way. You treat them with respect, you get respect in return.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that.
Right.
And that, but I've never, what we call Gugwe, I know of, I've never experienced anything like that. If I did, either A, I got lucky and it just wasn't interested in eating my fluffy butt because it didn't want diabetes, or B, I didn't have any experience with one period. The closest thing I can come to that may have been close to it is in Australia. And when I was messing with the, I just brain farted it, the Australian Bigfoot. I just forgot the name off the top of my head.
Yowie. The Yowie.
Yowie. Thank you. Yes, the Yowie. That was probably if it, and I can't even classify that in that category because that's something else. But that's probably, from my knowledge, the closest thing I've dealt with when it comes to this type of a Bigfoot type deal. But I don't know. I've never experienced it. So most of my stuff has been more or less Shiai Tonka.
There you go.
It's visual data that is decoded references to have been exposed to, and in an adrenaline rush, your references with that is actually right. And we were talking about that backstage too, because that is a very common thing that people deal with. If you're not mentally prepared for something like that and you have an experience, your mind is going to try to come up with what you're looking at. It wants to know what it's looking at. And if it doesn't have anything to reference to, it is going to go to the nearest thing that it has to reference to it. Sure. And that's something that we talked about many, many times on my shows, William's shows, Jessica's shows, DA's shows, and other shows. This is something that happens. When you're stressed, your body is stressed in that manner, and fear, adrenaline, and everything else kicks in. This is what happens. And this is why I like the idea of getting other views.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we got to do. There has to be that conversation so we can discuss this all openly and come up with theories and ideas to solve all this.
Roxanne said years ago there was a Gugwe sighted in Arkansas, the one placed named Eagle something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the funny thing, though, is like there's not a lot of documented Gugwe sightings, you know? So, again, this is something we have to look into and be like, why is everybody saying they're seeing Gugwe these days when back in those days, in their early 80s, early 90s, they weren't really reported? You know what I'm saying? I think what happened, again, is somebody saw the name Kukwes and they thought, oh, that's a cool name. So let's kind of, morph that up a little bit. And that's how we got the name Gugwe, So I think there's a lot that's going on here where we're fumbling over ourselves. Okay. We're trying to name these things when we really don't know what they are, and we can't do that. We got to be careful doing it.
Hey, Kevin. And that's something I talk about often. A lot of stuff I have to refer back to Native American lore because people's like, well, you can't learn history. Well, the Native Americans dealt with this stuff along with other cultures that dealt with other things. But specifically with this one here, we're going to know more from learning from them than we are now because people are going, hey, Justin, people are going, well, this is what I think it is, and this is what I'm going to call it, and this is what it is because that's what I want it to be.
Sure.
And the thing is in order to learn what we are dealing with now, we have to dive in history and build our way up to know what we're dealing with. And that's why I love these old lures. Instance today, like I said, Native American. Because I don't know of any other Gugwe sightings. I mean, probably the closest one would be Yeti. If I would have to pick one outside of the U.S.
There was one in 1975, and this one, I'm surprised this one doesn't have more researchers on it because it actually came from a little girl. So this girl grew up in Missouri, okay? And she claimed that when she was young, she would walk home from school, and this long-snouted, baboon-faced Bigfoot would constantly follow her home, all right? And then she would go out at night. She'd probably go outside to walk her dog or whatever, and this Bigfoot would be on the top of the hill watching her. But she described it as having a very, very long snout, having tufts of fur near the top of the head. And she said that it looked nothing like the PG Bigfoot, nothing like the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot. So it didn't look like Patty at all. So this is kind of where people started getting interested in the whole Gugwe thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was talking about outside the U.S. when it comes to looking at history. U.S. is the only place I know of to look at history when we're actually talking to what we call Gugwe nowadays.
Go to Canada because, like I said, Nahanni Valley has the Nukluk and the Nahana also. That's another type of Bigfoot that was supposed to live there because there was supposed to be two. There was a Nukluk, which were, they lived in the caves along the valleys, but then there was a Naha, which lived in the hills. So you have to wonder which one of these Bigfoots were the ones that were coming down and eating the miners while they're at Nahanni Valley. Again, you have to be really very careful when you're examining indigenous folklore. Perfect example of this, Edie, is the Quiche Sabe. Okay, so you'll hear a lot of people call Bigfoot Quiche Sabe or Sabe or whatever, but what they don't do is they don't look into the Iroquois tale of the Quiche Sabe. They don't just talk about Quiche Sabe like a Bigfoot that's roaming around the hills. Quiche Sabe was a teacher that's used in the 7 grandfather laws. Okay, and in the tradition, the Bigfoot was trying to teach humanity honesty. So can we name Bigfoot Quiche Sabe when they're not talking to us, when they're not teaching us any lessons, or are we just taking something that we think is romanticized and sounds really friendly, and we're like, oh, well, that's Bigfoot then?
Yeah. Well, and another thing we have to worry about, and when it comes to us researchers and investigators, one of the biggest problems, leave AI out of it. We're talking report-wise here.
Yes.
One of the biggest problems we have is clickbait. People find a word, latch onto that word, and they blast that word so much that, next thing you know, 1 or 2 people hear it, then they spread it, then they spread it, then they spread it, and they spread it. And all of a sudden, we get, one thing that's actually one thing, but a couple months later, it's now something else because this one guy did this. But, and William, exactly. The Dinopithecus is like we talked about Friday. I'm a firm believer that's probably what we're thinking of when it comes to Gugwe. But he says, don't forget about the baboon species witnessed in Alaska. Yeah. And look at a very famous Bigfoot attack happened in Arkansas, right? I bet some of you guys will probably know where I'm getting at. If you listen to that report, to me, whenever I hear it, to me sounds like what we would call Gugwe. by the way it acted. I mean, it was very vicious. It attacked a lot of things, the three toes, everything else. I don't know. I'm just going off of what I've always seen and heard. So, yes, loaded words sway opinions. Exactly right. Because I'm a small dude compared to a lot of people out there who's doing these shows. So my words are not going to get out near as much as somebody that's got tens of thousands to millions of people. And those people are the ones that seem to get the name for what's happening. And that's why I want to try to do a different way here.
Well, see, here's my thing, though. If we are so aggressive, how come there's not more of attacks? We're not getting a number of attacks about the Gugwe. Yeah. So if they're so aggressive, what's going on there? Like, they just decided not to do it anymore? Or did we tame them somehow? So I think the whole Gugwe ferocity thing has been very much overplayed. And I think people are kind of throwing that into books and into TV shows, and we think it's fact. It's not fact, though, because if we're not hearing of violent attacks by these things, then they're not doing it. So we got to stop thinking that Gugwe are so violent, because Bigfoot is known to be violent at times too. So we got to be careful not to cross those wires. I mean, it's kind of like Bigfoot, or Ghostbusters. Don't cross the streams, okay? We don't know what we're dealing with, so don't cross the streams.
Right. Which that leads into something that I've always pondered, and this is just an opinion, a high hypothesis on my side. Instances where this is talked about and they are aggressive, and that's why they got their name. Are we dealing with a juvenile Bigfoot that is transitioning into adulthood when hormones are going 90 to nothing? Or
maybe.
I mean, that's one possibility we have to consider on that. The other one could be, what did they do to piss it off?
True.
Look how many times mankind's done something to piss something off, and it retaliated, and all of a sudden mankind's the victim when mankind is the instigator.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Could be they're mainly in the backwoods. I mean, yeah, that's possible. Don, I mean, you're absolutely right. The other thing.
The problem with that is, though, even if they are in the backwoods, you get all these people saying, "Oh, I encountered a Gugwe." Well, sure, okay, but how come they're not violent attacks? If the Gugwe are so violent and they're so vicious and man-eaters, how come you get people saying, "Oh, I encountered one," but nothing happened?
Yeah. Another theory I have, let me find it because I want to get this up, because this is very key what William was talking about. If we are dealing with a Dinopithecus, and it is the one that's doing it, which with the descriptions and everything fit Dinopithecus very well, is there very little attacks because there's very little of them left?
Maybe.
And that's one thing I'm wondering too.
It could be. So, I mean, or it could just be that they're not encountered as often as people say. I mean, we do have to take a look at that, and we do have to understand not every told encounter is true, okay? There are people that make things up. There's people that want 15 minutes of fame, so they'll create a really dramatic Bigfoot or Gugwe or Dogman story just to get that fame. Doesn't mean it's true. No. In many cases, you find out BS.
Yeah. And this is actually I'm glad William brought this up, because that's not a bad way to approach things too. Maybe the reason why we're not getting as many reports because there's not very many of them that returned or reported. Maybe. But again, though, I mean, we're really doing an injustice by saying it's the Gugwe, because again, the Gugwe does not fit the original tale. And I think if we're going to use any names from indigenous folklore, we have to make damn sure that everything about that creature lines up with what the tribes said about that creature, okay? So in the Gugwe's case, it doesn't line up with the Kukwes at all, okay? It's female. It's always a female in the Micmac tales. So we can't go and say, oh, well, now it's a male too because we say so. No, we have to pay attention to what the Micmac say and stick to what they say and not deviate from that, because they're telling us fact. They're telling us what they saw, what they experienced over, hundreds of years. So if they say it's always a female, then it's always a female. As sure as eggs are eggs, you can take it to the bank. It's always going to be a female. Yeah, and that's good. And what's sad is when I try to pull up a lot of Native American lore on this, for some reason, it's very elusive. It fits the mainstream. You can find a mainstream topic on it every single, or all over the place nowadays, which is aggravating. I mean, because for me, Gugwe is a relatively new term. I've only started hearing about it about 3 years ago. So I don't have an extensive knowledge on it. That's why I like having people on that know this better than I do. Because when I try to research it, I get with what I talk about. This is what I find and know because, well, this is all I can find.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's very aggravating because I like truth. Like I said earlier, I like science.
Yeah.
And if you put the history and the science, and the history and the science could back each other, that's where you're going to get a lot of your truth from. And that's what I like to try to do. Roxanne does have a question for you, Ryan.
Okay, so
she wants to know what is your theory on that came from?
Well, I kind of have to stand by what my brother William was saying, the Dinopithecus. Okay, I think that's what people are seeing, and I don't think we should call him Gugwe. I think we need to come up with a different name. Because, like I said, it doesn't line up with what the Micmac, the Iroquois, and the Ojibwe are describing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to use the Native American term, then we have to make sure that these things line up with what they saw. So I think Dinopithecus is what they started out as. I think it's an ancient species of baboon that somehow managed to evade extinction. How they did it, I don't know. But they were there for a time. Are they still out there? Maybe, maybe not. But we have to definitely think of a different name for these guys, 100%.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, I think I'm going to look at my deal here. I think I actually have a photo of Dinopithecus. Let me get in my show notes. If everything's on my external, I'm trying to free up space on my computer because I've done the Gugwe show over a year ago. There we go. Yeah. I've got a couple different ones. Let me share this, and then you said you got some too, right?
No, I don't have any readily available.
So this is one depiction of what they say is a Gugwe, which you're seeing that very common shape of Dinopithecus right there. I mean, you got the raccoon fingers, the mandrill face, everything. That's a pretty good drawing, rendition of what somebody saw.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Another one is this is a famous picture that's been out. I don't know how much on this one I want to believe, but it's a good picture. It kind of fits the description. Not saying it is. This is just purely speculation, opinionating on something that somebody reports. This is what we see these pictures as, just to let YouTube know. These ain't my artwork. Most of the time I do my own artwork because I can't 100% say this is what something is.
Right.
But this is another one that is very common that they're depicting these Gugwes to look like, and which makes sense. You see the snout. It's kind of got the mandrill face to it. The baboon / mandrill face. So, I don't know. Interesting either way.
Yeah. The whole topic is really fascinating, but I think it requires a lot more work, and we're labeling things when we should. Like I'm going to keep emphasizing it. If we're going to use indigenous names, respect the indigenous folklore, So when you call something like Kiche Sabe, learn where Kiche Sabe came from and learn what the name means and learn how it was used and maybe not use it for cryptids when you're trying to explain a wild man. That's not what the Kiche Sabe was.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to write down the names. I meant to write down the names and I completely forgot about it. So I'll get them here. It just dawned on me, like, oh crap, I got my notepad on me just for this.
Here's something really, really interesting. So as far as the Kiche Sabe goes, a lot of people go, oh, well, it is a Bigfoot. But in the story, though, it was a spiritual being that was given as a spiritual gift from the creator. So unless that tribe is telling you specifically it's Bigfoot, then we don't have a right to go, hey, it's Bigfoot because we say so.
Yeah. Yes, Roxanne, thank you. For entertainment purposes only. Exactly. This is just our opinions and our views. I think that's it because I do have one that I made, but it ain't close to any of this. But yeah, so So I need to look up that quiche sabe because every time I hear sabe, I always think of something. Hey, Ruth, um, spiritual. A lot of these things are spiritual beings, Ruth, and I think that's very important for people to understand. We are all connected in one way or another. So spiritual wise, yes, I can see that because if you listen to not just what we're talking about tonight, but I mean, as far as cryptids and a lot of general, I mean, dogman or natural born werewolves, everything else, they all talk about the spirituality of them, and they all have a essence and all that. So I mean, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
But you also have to look at how it's used. You got to look at how it's used in the story. Like in the case of Quiche Sabe, he didn't appear just to run around wild in the woods. He appeared to a young boy to teach him a lesson. I mean, the 7 grandfather laws are all about the rules and the ways that men and women should live. So you got like different animals representing different qualities like respect and things like that. In their stories, Quiche Sabe was about honesty and truth. And he told the young boy, mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't lie. So right there, you have to look at it and go, okay, so does Bigfoot do this to people currently? Is it showing up in a spirit quest or a vision where it's teaching them a lesson? If not, you can't attach those names and go, okay, it's a Quiche Sabe because we said so.
Yeah.
We have to look at the very details in those oral traditions and respect those oral traditions.
Yeah. Diaries want to know, are there a lot of them around?
I don't think as many as
people
want. I don't think there's as many as people want to think. People want to think that Gugwe are around the corner everywhere you go. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a very, very rare encounter. If you run into one of these mandrill-faced creatures, I think it's something that's just like it's luck would have it. You're out there in the wild and one crosses your path and that's it. So,
yeah. And I mean, that's true. So, I was trying to think of another question. I'm still trying to get my head out of the game. Oh, I do have that one picture you guys were talking about of what they were. I have to share this again. I just looked in there and I didn't have that. I don't know why I didn't pop that up. This is the one that they claim is one, and it's holding. Oh, you are supposed to be over here. Why are you popping up over here?
It moved far away from you.
Move you over. Yeah. This one here, which has got two dogs in the hand. I don't know. I'm really up in the air on that one. I know a lot of people believe it is. I'm not saying it ain't. To me, that looks more gorilla than it does baboon, but that's just my opinion. Hey, Larry. I don't know what you think on that one.
I've heard a lot of arguments
in that screen as well.
There's actually somebody out there who says that's a man with a backpack holding up a camera. Now, I don't see that. When I look at that, I don't see a man holding a camera. I do not see that. So where they got that idea from, I don't know. But the way that the picture was taken, it does make me think that there's some truth to it. Because the guy who took this picture wasn't trying to capture a Bigfoot. He wasn't looking for a Gugwe or a dogman or any cryptid. He was just taking a picture of his surroundings. He just wanted to show how pretty it was at 7 shoots. That's it.
Yeah. And this is just a small portion of this picture. This picture is actually way bigger. They blew this up because they were looking at it and seen this. This is not the actual size of the picture. This is in the true picture. He's a lot smaller than what he is in this.
Yeah, the guy didn't.
This is just what they.
The guy taking the picture didn't even notice he was there. So
yeah, exactly. That's and that's what I was getting at. He was just looking at it, and then all of a sudden he found it, and he cropped it, blew it up, and then you get what this famous picture is.
Yep.
William wants to know, are there possibilities of them coming out of the caverns and cave systems?
I think very high.
There is.
I think very high. Yeah. I think a lot of these things hide in the caves. I really do.
Hey, mouth. I'm sorry, guys, if you're hearing that. She is going animals. My cat is just a one long meow. I'm like, what the heck?
Maybe she's hungry.
Hey,
Wants
you better
to
not be messing with them kitties. They're not chew toys. You better not be messing with them kitties. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. No, come on now. I'm trying to do something. You're being a pain in the butt. I'm sorry. My dogs and cats are at my butt because I've been gone all day.
Oh, puppies.
Yeah. Yeah, boy. Yes, I know, buddy. I love you and I missed you too. I know, but I'm doing a show, so you're going to have to wait, buddy.
No, he's
That's
not
my face.
dude.
Yeah, he likes to crawl in the small of my back because he thinks he's still a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Which he is a puppy. He's just not a small puppy anymore. Corey, you're right. Distance is unreal. I mean, it really is. All right, now get down. I petted you. Now get down, you big old lug nut.
So believe it or not, though, when he took that photo, he wasn't super far away. He was just high up on a hill. Mm-hmm. So he was on a cliff face, and he was looking down when he took that picture. And he was trying to get a panoramic view of the forest below him. That's why when you look at the picture, it looks like that thing is looking up at him because it was essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Roxanne says, so you feel there's not that many of them?
Yeah, I don't. I don't think that Gugwe are a common occurrence. I think that when people are running into them, it could be that they're seeing, a typical Bigfoot, but they attribute, features to it that weren't really there. Because our minds do that, okay? When somebody sees something that they don't know what it is, they do attribute a lot of details that weren't there originally. They it's not that they're making stuff up, it's that their mind's trying to fill in the gaps, and it's trying to create a clear memory for them. So they start, tacking things on to explain away why they couldn't chase it, why they couldn't get a picture. And that's something we have to be careful of. And in the case of the Gugwe, I don't think it's very often that people see them. I really don't.
Nice. Oh, thank you, Firewater. You're badass. Firewater did a $10 super sticker. Welcome to the Fluffy Friends Hour. Give Parrot Dog a kiss for me. Yeah, Parrot Dog. He's laying on his pillow right now. I had him up earlier. I appreciate that. I'll give him one for you, Firewater. You know I will. Val's got a question. Hey, Val, by the way, I didn't see you come in. It's good to see you in here. Are the sightings in a concentrated area of the Gugwe?
Most of them Canada. The original sightings was Canada. So, and I think because, different channels started doing horror stories featuring the Gugwe, everybody started seeing them. You know how that plays out, like the Slender Man. Remember when the Slender Man was a really popular thing? Everybody's like, oh, I'm seeing the Slender Man now. I think with the Gugwe is that, with the sightings in Canada became really popular. And that's how, the story started trickling down into the States. I don't think there's that many encounters at all, really. I really don't.
Heck yeah. I agree. Now, we've heard of stories all over, but it's nothing that we can definitively say this is this. It's just this is what they've seen, this is what they reported, and this is what they call it.
Right.
And that's why I'm using the term what we call Gugwe, because I have to be realistic. We don't know 100% for sure.
Right.
So that's why I'm using that term. So just like when I talk about Dogman, what we call nowadays Dogman, in history, it was known as a werewolf. Around the world, they were called werewolves. You had natural ones, you had magical ones. That's why I say what we call Dogman nowadays. I have to do the same thing with Gugwe.
Now, do you think natural werewolves were just the dogmen people were seeing, or was there some other way that they came about?
Well, from what I've learned on that there's always been two types. You have the natural ones, like we was talking about a few seconds ago. They've known to be living communities. You hear them all over just about every civilization throughout history has stories of these villages of these dog-headed people with tails. They fight like canines. They're vicious. You don't mess with them. They still trade, but they stick to themselves. Then you have what we call werewolves nowadays, which is like Rougarou, magic created. They still have a lot of human flesh to them, very little, mostly hairy on top, no tail, very humanistic from waist down, except for the groin area. It's very hairy too. And that is where the magic, because that's everything associated to them is dealt with dark magic.
Sure.
So that's why.
So you're referring to the Cynocephali. The Cynocephali, they were supposed to be a very cultured species, you know. So I don't know. I call them werewolf though, because if you use the term werewolf, you're kind of implying that they're evil and that they were created for a purpose. Where the Cynocephali actually were very well behaved for a while. They traded silk and all those things. So I think we have to be really careful when we're using the term werewolf.
We do, but I mean, and that was just a common term that was used for a long time. Werewolf, Cynocephali, lycanthrope, stuff like that, which was dealt with the natural ones. And then you got the Rougarou. You got, oh my gosh, I'm brain farting. I don't have my notes pulled up. So, but you can tell the difference between the two. And that's why, I mean, because like we talked about, Dogman was coined in 1984. That's where the term came from. Before then, we know them by different names. And so that's why I'm trying to break that down. But, like me and Williams talked about, a few times, you got the natural born ones, you got the magically created ones, but everybody wants to associate them together, and they're not. They're two separate entities.
Yeah, true. And they got to differentiate Dogman from Skinwalkers, too. Dogmen and Skinwalkers are not the same thing.
No, they are magically created. They are a shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're different.
Dude, it triggers me.
Roxanne says, do you feel like... Oh, sorry, bud.
Oh, it triggers me when I hear somebody say a Skinwalker is a cryptid. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a cryptid at all.
No, there's black magic involved on that. That's straight up evil magic.
Yep.
Roxanne wants to know, do you feel like they live in groups or loners?
Well, I mean, a lot of people like to say the popular theory is that they're loners. But if you go up to Nahanni Valley and you look at the Naha and the Nukluk, they lived in groups. They lived in colonies where they lived in the caves alongside the walls in the valley of Nahanni Valley. So if there's any truth to that, they live in groups, just like normal Bigfoot might do.
Yeah, yep. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, you may have some loners that was kicked out of the group. You may have that.
Maybe
we see that in the animal kingdom very often. So, I mean, that is a possibility. I don't know. I don't know of any stories of that being.
Yep.
All I can say is that's possible. Yep. Hey, Heifer. Has anyone heard of the Gugwe or a product of male Bigfoot and female Dogman? I've never heard of that.
That's a theory that people were putting out, but I think they're trying to, emphasize that Dogmen are real by saying the Gugwe are real. So you're trying to answer one mystery with another. And if you're a researcher, that is the worst thing you can do. Never try to answer one mystery with another mystery because you're just going to bump your head, not going to have any answers at all. I don't think they're a hybrid. I don't think they're crossbreeding at all. I think that each one is its own thing. And I think the Gugwe are they're there because they were created that way.
I agree. William, you bring up a very good point. William says, I think that when you have an almost extinct species, especially Gugwes, the odds of the possibility of finding mates to repopulate are very slim. You're 100% right on that. We see that in a lot of different species all over the world. I mean, I agree with you on that.
That's why zoos do the whole breeding thing nowadays, because in the wild they can't find a mate anymore and the species are dying off.
Vicky says, but when wouldn't the female Gugwe mate with a male Sasquatch?
There's a problem, though. There's a problem.
Why
we're assuming that Gugwe and Bigfoot have the same chromosomes. If they don't have the same chromosomes, they can't breed. There's not even going to be a viable fetus. So could they try to procreate? They could have a good time bumping uglies, but it's not going to produce a baby.
Well, I mean, look at a horse and a donkey. They can breed, but a mule, a lot of times the males are sterile. Look at your ligers, tiger, lion. They can breed. They're technically, tigers and lions are the exact same species. They just, whenever the continents drifted apart, tigers adapted to their deal. Lions done their deal. They're the same thing, but they're different because time has changed with the environment that they're in. They still mate, but a lot of times their offspring is sterile.
Right. So they're from the same genus, though. So you have to be from the same species to procreate. Okay, so you can't take, for example, a bird and a monkey. You try to breed a bird and a monkey, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to look really ugly, and the bird's going to probably get killed. But you can't take two species that have no, and nothing in common genetically and breed them together. So would a Gugwe breed with a Bigfoot? No, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Sorry, guys, that thing jumped on me again, so I got to find out where I left off on your guys' comments. I don't want to miss your guys' questions because this is very good information. I think this is very important for all of us to learn this. That's why I've been waiting to do the show till I can get my brother Ryan on.
We got to look at the scientific.
Okay, I don't know why Yeah. Scott, you have a good one. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Be well, Scott.
Yes, Roxanne.
Be well.
Okay.
Firewater. I was going to say something else, but I didn't want to get us shut down, so I had said bumping uglies.
A little pat. Some animals migrate to certain areas to breed based on their breeding cycles, and fish do also. Maybe it is possible. Yeah, I mean, yeah, David. I mean, yeah,
I could see that. I mean, salmon do it all the time. So,
Don, I agree with you on that. I believe wholeheartedly they live in packs. There's too much evidence throughout history and even modern times of sightings that they live in packs. Well, so I think it's very well possible.
I think that depends because the kind of I ran into, I didn't see a pack when I ran into mine. And if you look at the earlier reports of Beasts of Bray Road, it was always just one individual. It wasn't a pack. It was always just one being. So, yep.
One, Eric, they named it Blue Moon. The kitty's hungry. The kitty ain't hungry. The kitty ate a lot. The kitty stinked her on hungry. Bumping uglies. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up. For some reason, my chat thing likes to jump around. I don't know if it's my mouse doing it or if it's the system. A human Bigfoot would not breed with a non-species being.
Exactly. Thank you, Brother William. See, William's spot on, dude. And he knows his stuff. So,
yeah. Right there it is. Ryan, that was seen could be the other we're hiding.
No, I think it was on its own, man. The way that it was acting, it was by itself. I think if there was a pack around, that thing would have been a lot braver than it was. Because, like I said, when I told my encounter on all these shows, it kind of seemed like, surprised, like, what are you doing here? And what are we supposed to do? Because I don't know what you are. And I think if there was a pack there, I think the pack would have come out to see what was going on.
I mean, that's possible because when you hear reports of them being in packs, when one of them is giving that signal of, hey, potential food here, you start all of a sudden getting other eye signs coming up, or you start hearing other howls or other chatters going on. I mean, like that howl I had here the other night that was probably the loudest wolf howl I've ever heard in my life. And then a split second later, some of the loudest coyotes howls I've ever heard in my life. And that's when I learned when William told me about the Coyote King. I mean, it was alone, but it wasn't alone. I mean, as soon as one reacted, the others did as well. Could that just be them challenging each other? Possibly. If it's what Williams said it is, very possibly. I mean, that's something I learned, that I'd never known about.
I mean, when I ran into that hyena dog man, dude, I mean, the way it was looking at me, it was like kind of like, oh shit, you're not supposed to be here. What's going on? It looked really confused. I mean, it kind of looked like, it knew it was a residential area, but it's like, what are you doing here? So it was actually kind of cute in the way it was kind of confused. Yeah.
William says, remember, when you have an encounter with one, it's probably a scout or a loner for a reason.
Yep. I think this one was a loner. I think he just, I don't know. I think he was just passing through.
Yeah, I like that term too, Firewater. I'm not going to lie. I'd do a more friendlier version, which is where Pat comes in. Poncho, who's going to be the 666 subscriber? Am I still at 665? Oh man, I didn't know. I haven't looked, so I didn't know if I was still at that number or not. Yeah, that'd be interesting when I get that. I'm wondering if I don't have it already, but YouTube won't put it up. Yeah, that's what's next. So, but I just lost my train of thought listening to that one there. Yeah, I mean, I think you and William are pretty correct on the fact that there's not very many of them anymore. I'm still very much online that this is a Dinopithecus. I really think that's what it is. I'm just my opinion, because the stories, the evidence, the history really points in that direction. And if that's the case, that is something that is dying out, and that could be why there's not very many of them.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, I mean, I'll be doing a disservice if I don't put in there the possibility why you're not hearing very many of them, because very few return to be able to tell the story. I have to put that in there because that's always a possibility. It may be a low possibility, but it's still a possibility.
Sure, but I mean, when you look at things like the Hani Valley, though, there's remains that are found. Okay, so then you have to wonder, how come remains aren't being found of modern day sightings? You can't just say, oh well, they eat the whole entire body. We don't know. So you got to be really careful. You really, really do, because a lot of the horror stories in the cryptozoology field, they're just not true. Okay. And take it from me, because I take plenty of Skinwalker reports. I take a lot of Wendigo reports. And I will tell you, 98% of those turn out to be BS. They turn out to be untrue. So.
Yeah, we kind of did talk about that earlier. What we call Gugwe nowadays, face eaters, is something that they took bits and parts of stories and created what we know of as Gugwe nowadays. And that's why I wanted Ryan on here, because he knows more about these things than I do, because I can't find the actual information. Every time.
What was that?
You okay? That was a putty tat that took a tumble and ran.
Dang. That was a rough tumble.
Stop.
Poor kid.
Yeah, it was. Boar, 90. Stop up. Sorry. He is being very, very much of a pain in the butt at the moment.
That's okay.
But and that's why I wanted to get him on here, because I can't. Every time I try to access the history on these things, it gives me the modern version of what we're talking about. That's why I love it when me and William talk about it. That's why I wanted Ryan on here. Ryan made the suggestion about doing one. I was like, dude, yeah, that'd be perfect. Because I love having Ryan on here. Because we have different opinions on stuff, but we love talking about things and getting different aspects on it. And this is what I love. This is what I do this stuff for.
So let me get back to a comment here, though, bro. So Pappy Two Bears made a comment. Pappy, no, the Micmac did not call them the Gugwe at all. So what they called them was the Gugwe. And as I was explaining earlier, the Gugwe was a basket ogress. She was a giant female, taller than the highest pine trees, or she could reach the highest mast of a ship, okay? So the Micmac, the Iroquois, and the Ojibwe did not call them Gugwe. That's actually a name that somebody created along the way, and they derived it from the name Gugwe, which is Micmac.
Is that this? Hey, Pappy, I didn't see you come in. It's good to see you. Is that the one you were talking about? I was trying to see because that thing slipped past me. I had a bunch of stuff hit at one time. Is that the comment you was talking about?
Yep. So the native people did not call them Gugwe at all. In fact, if you were to walk up to a Micmac and say, tell me about the Gugwe, they're going to look at you like, the what? Now, if you say, tell me about the Gugwe, then they're going to be like, oh, the basket ogress. Okay. Then they'll tell you the story of the basket ogress. But Gugwe is not a word in any of the indigenous tribes. It's something that somebody transformed to sound more, I guess, Anglo-Saxon maybe, or more popular, more vicious. So, again, that's why I say, if you're going to use a creature from indigenous folklore, make sure you're paying attention to every single detail. Make sure you're paying attention to what they say how they behave, or look at the feet, okay? Because there's a type of Bigfoot in the Native American legend where it sounds like Bigfoot until you get down to the feet. Once you get to the feet, they have bird's feet. Is that Bigfoot? No.
What's one of those that came out? Bat Squatch, I think, is another one they done that with. If I remember right, I think it was called
Yep.
Bat Squatch or something like that.
Yep.
Diaries, yeah, we covered this earlier. We believe they're using cave systems. So I mean, it's very very well possible they're living within them caves. There's enough evidence found in caves by people exploring caves that there should be no reason why they're finding human stuff and human remains this deep in caves. Usually it's torn clothing, something along that line, which I'm a very big believer. That's probably the reason why we're not finding a lot of stuff, because they're taken deep inside these caves where they travel or live. And, well, that's where what they don't eat gets disregarded to.
Yep.
That's just one of my theories.
I wanted to explore caves for a while, but after looking at some here in Arizona, I was like, yeah, no, those are too creepy, man. I went down some of them and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah. Good to see you, Jerry. Wow, bird feet crazy. I've never heard of the bird feet once. Now I'm like, dude, I got to look into this. David's good to see you.
Yeah,
David said
Boondock.
thank you.
No, it wasn't an indigenous person with a speech impediment. In fact, if you look it up on Google, Gugwe didn't become a thing until World Bigfoot Radio started showing up. So I think Brian Duke Sullivan kind of played a role in the whole Gugwe name becoming popular. But no, all the indigenous people refer to it as Kukwes. So there was never a tribal person that called it the Gugwe.
I need to write that down before I forget. Quest. And I know I'm spelling it wrong because I can't spell to save my life.
It's K-U-K.
I think I can make her. Oh. K-U-K-W-E-S. Okay, thank you. That's why I got to have something to spell things out for me.
You'll see, though, if you actually look into a lot of the oral traditions, you'll actually see that a lot of mistranslations happen. Like the perfect example as far as Dogman goes. People will say that the Cherokee legend of the Ulanga Dogala is a firm representation of Dogman. But it's not, though, because when you look into the Cherokee legend about it, yeah, it shows up in a wolf form, but it also turns into a human-like zombie. So that rules it out as, definition of Dogman, doesn't it?
Yeah. The origins, Washington coastal area legend. The Bequest of Buquest, basket woman from the Oregon, Washington coastal area. Thank you, William.
Yep. And William, maybe you can correct me on this, but I think the Kukwes has more in common with a Zuniqua than it has with anything else.
Yeah, I'm listening to the comments of these caves. I love caving. I love caving. I really, really love caving. That's one of my favorite things to do. What do you think the otter man is? Just curious.
Ooh.
See, that otter man, that's what that comes from. That's not the Nish. That's something else. What is that? Where did
it's an Inuit, though. Inuit. It's the Kushtaka.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting deal. I mean, and there's plenty of history about it being, what it is. I think it was, if it's not still around, it was at one time. I really think it was.
So, I don't know. I think if the Inuit speak of it, come to it. I mean, they don't just talk about things just for the sake of talking about them. If they're talking about it, it's because it's something they've run into. They've had daily dealings with it. So when they speak of the Kushtaka, I don't think anybody has a right to say, oh, it never existed. I think there was something to it. Is the otter man still out there? Who knows? I mean, I'd be terrified. A giant otter? No, thank you. But I think it's still a possibility, though. I love the Kushtaka. That's one of my favorite legends.
Yeah, that's why I was saying if it's still around, man, I mean, that'd be interesting. I don't know if any reports has happened lately of anybody reporting of seeing the otter man. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
It happens. It happens. If you speak to people from that tribe, it happens.
Does it? Okay. No, there's a damn good chance it's still there then. I mean, absolutely. If they're still talking about it to this day, which that's another spiritual creature right there. I mean, look at the stories behind them. I mean, that's a very spiritual creature.
Yep. I mean, I think they don't talk about that because it's not weird to them. To the Inuits and all these people, when they see, the Kushtaka or things like that, to us, it's like, what the hell's going on here? Because, we live in the cities. For people like that, it's such a daily occurrence that they're like, oh, it's not unusual, so they don't really talk about it.
Yeah. William said very true, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, William's on the same page as I am.
So, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I love this stuff. Yeah, and that's why I love doing things. You're doing shows with William. I learned so much more.
That's what I keep saying.
There's been a couple. Yeah. Roxanne says there's been a couple of sightings of Gugwe around the Missouri River a few years ago. Yeah, I've heard some in southern Missouri, and I believe it was central Missouri, if memory serves me correctly. But is that what they actually saw? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that gets kind of convoluted with Momo, the Missouri monster. So you got to take a look at the details for that and see, was it really a Gugwe or was it just Bigfoot?
Yeah, and that's something I try to tell people. I'm from northern Missouri. So up there, I grew up calling, Shiitonka Momo because that's what we called it. Grandpa would say, hey, boy, don't go in the woods. Momo's been spotted. When I moved back down here to southwest Missouri, where I'm at now, the old timers, the farmers called them boogers. So, we have the same state, but one part of it calls it one thing, another part calls it another thing.
Yes.
You'll see this very common in a lot of cryptids all around the world even. They can be very close neighbors, but they have different names. And even the descriptions they're similar, but there's like a tweak here and there on them. And that be two different species they're talking about. That is very well a very good possibility. Could it be because their minds told them this is what it is when they saw it, and that's why they did, and these guys, their mind said this, and that's why? That is also a possibility. I think it's more of they're talking about two different things.
So let me ask you, though, what do you think of all these people saying, oh, there's so many different types of Bigfoot just because the behavior is different? I mean, isn't that kind of a far-fetched? Because Bigfoot could behave in so many different ways. They're not all going to be docile, gentle giants. There's going to be some that are just complete assholes. There's going to be ones that you run across that don't like you. So does that make it a different species? No, it just makes it a Bigfoot in a bad mood.
Yeah. I believe the actual true Shiitonka, the true, what we call Bigfoot. Yes, I know there's many different kinds, and we kind of hinted a little bit on this backstage. I believe the true Shiitonka is something different. It's the true one. It's the true Bigfoot of what we call Bigfoot. I think that some of these others, either there's crossbreeding, which is what you get the human-like ones, or they're the last remnants of Neanderthal. They're not a true Bigfoot. They're a hybrid species. Or there's something completely different. Because if you look at the description that they've recently came out with, thank you, Roxanne. I'll get to that in just a moment. If you listen to the recent studies on Neanderthal, they've come out and said, man, we have been wrong. Neanderthal was bigger, stronger, and heavier than what we originally thought they were. So you start listening to this description, they fit the human-looking Bigfoot that we hear about from time to time, almost to a daggone T. Yeah. So I think that's either something completely different or that's a hybrid between, and which we know from Native American stories. I've pulled up newspaper clippings of Shiitonkas coming in and taking women for breeding, taking men for breeding. We hear that in Native American lore all over. Like I said, newspaper clippings of this stuff happening as well from the Library of Congress when I was on there trying to do a lot of research. They're called Elder Big Brother for a reason. There's enough genes or DNA likeness to us that it is very possible they could have offspring. Now, is that offspring sterile? Probably. I don't know. Is it not? I don't know. I can't tell you. I've never sat down and sang Kumbaya and smoked a peace pipe with one to be able to say this is what it is. I don't know. But I think the actual true Bigfoot ones we do call Shiitonka is something completely different.
It could be. I mean, it's always fascinating to see how the Bigfoot legends vary. Like you got the Sukalu, which I bring up a lot. The Sukalu is the Lord of the Game. He's always showing up during hunts and ceremonies. So, how come they behave so differently? What's the gap here where they're so different from tribe to tribe? You got to look at that. I think that's something that people got to start studying a bit more. And we have to start differentiating, like, okay, yes, this is them talking about Bigfoot, and this actually is not, so we got to be careful here.
Right.
And yes, David,
and that's what I was kind of. Oh,
David,
sorry.
I do have my own channel. It's Let the Monsters In with Ryan Tremblay. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those different places. Just look at Ryan Paul Tremblay and you'll find me.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, William. And that's kind of what I was hinting at. The true Shiai Tonka. I believe there's actually a true one, and I believe there's either kind of some different ones or there's hybrid versions of them. But I think some of the ones that's different that we classify as Bigfoot is not a true Bigfoot. It's just something that we have come to put in there.
Yeah.
But yes, after the show, David, I will be putting Ryan's link into the deal. I realized I forgot to do it after I made it, so I will be adding it onto there later. So if you don't remember what it is, it will be in there. Hey, Big Island. It's the top of the hour, guys. So let's get some Dark Angel Medical in today. I did my book yesterday. So
and I'm going to use
Ryan, we're going to have a good deal. I was going to say, yeah, you got the opportunity. If you're looking for the best trauma kit or first aid kits on the market, look no further than Dark Angel Medical. I do not get paid to sponsor them. I love their product and use their product. That's why I asked Carrie Pocket Doc Davis if I'm allowed to use him as a sponsor on the show. That's how much I believe in his product. You will not find anything better than Dark Angel Medical. When I go out on investigations in the field, I've got a Dark Angel Medical with me. When I'm driving around in my cage, I've got a Dark Angel Medical kit on me. I love the Godzilla, by the way. Even Godzilla. See, Godzilla even likes Dark Angel Medical. You can use Cryptid for now. Use Cryptid 20 for 20% off. They are FSA and HSA friendly. You can use those to do it. To use them, yes, they are a little expensive. You pay for what you get. You want the best, you're going to pay for the best. I get that you can't, especially with this economy, you can't afford to pay something of that price right off the bat. They do have Sezzle, which is how I buy my kits, is off of Sezzle. Usually it's about 4 payments and it's taken care of. Carrie Pocket Doc Davis is the godfather of Kit for Life. He actually created that. If you use it, you save a life, and you send that in to Carrie, he replaces what you use on that kit for absolutely free. If you want some great first aid and trauma education, go to his YouTube channel, at Dark Angel Medical, or go to his Instagram to Dark Angel Medical. And he has some amazing videos on how to do proper first aid and trauma works on somebody. Highly, highly recommend Dark Angel Medical.
Nice.
William says, I remember my father telling me 4 species of Bigfoot. There you go. I mean, that man would know right there. So, I mean, yeah, there's four species. So, and I believe me and Williams talked about that because I believe the Neanderthal looking ones or the human looking ones was one of those. Correct me if I'm wrong, William, but I think that's something we've talked about before.
You should pop on up.
Diary said, I heard a story. Heck yeah. I heard a story about Bigfoot in New Mexico that became aggressive because of environmental pollution. I think that's possible. I mean, like I said, a lot of times when you have a negative reaction is because something we did to them. But we want to play the victim. That's the humanity side of us. Humans want to play the victims. We're not always the victims. We're the instigator a crap ton of the times. So
I think we all have to consider, though, that they're in the wild, okay? So they're going to take opportunities to catch prey if and when they can. So not always is it something we do. It's just sometimes that they need food, and you happen to be right there when they need it. I know people don't like to hear that Bigfoot can be aggressive, but sadly, it can be very aggressive. It needs to be.
And that's where they're looking at you going, meat's back on the menu, boys.
Nice Lord of the Rings reference.
That's why I love that movie. That's why I always tell people, I've had 32 years of peaceful experiences with my guest here on my property. I have not had a negative reaction with them yet. But I always say it only takes one. It takes one of them with a bad attitude. Maybe I'd done something disrespectful and didn't mean to, and that good experience is out the window.
Yep.
I mean, it's sorry, but it's true.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Firewater. Medication can be refilled for 2 years, too. Exactly. Thank you very much. I keep forgetting to add that in there. So, I mean, and I'm a firm believer in that, I mean, if you guys didn't watch, I have got to remember that one. I need to pop that up in another screen and move it somewhere so I can take a look at that later. Thank you, brother.
Video is this?
It's one that it's coming up on YouTube. Give me a second here. I'm waiting on it to load. Thank you. That is your show, Ryan. Monster Radio with Ryan Paul Tremblay.
There you go.
Appreciate that, bro.
Thank you, Brother William. Hey, thanks for joining us, David. We appreciate you.
Heck yeah, David. Roxanne, absolutely right. And that's something that, I've talked about several times. Me and Williams together have talked about this several times. Locations also have a lot to do with it because Fred has had nothing but negative reactions up there in Alaska. We reference this to the black bear. The black bear here, 9 times out of 10, unless you corner them or mess with their cubs, they're going to run away from you. In Alaska, they're going to eat you. Food is scarce. So 100% right, Roxanne. Thank you, because I didn't even think about that. I'm glad you said that.
Spot on.
I appreciate that so much, David. You're awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Bubba tastes like chicken. I taste like diabetes. That's what I taste like. I taste like straight diabetes. I'm fluffy. Love you guys. Good show. Good night, everyone. Hey, take it easy, Brother William. Thank you for everything all your insight you put on today. I appreciate that so much, bro.
Feel better, brother.
So I will be adding that stuff. I will be adding your link into my deal there because I like doing that. And I do apologize for forgetting to do that. I was rushing.
That's okay. Not a problem.
The Bigfoot are around, supposed to be 15 foot tall. I've heard stories of them being 15. Most common I hear is 12 on the biggest, and that's a big old boar right there, a big boy. 12 footers.
There is a problem with the Alaskan killer Bigfoot, though.
Mm-hmm.
So Port Chatham, I know all you are familiar with that. But did you know that was actually hoaxed quite a bit by the locals? So the story that they created about that killer Bigfoot, it was actually created by a woman that lives there. And she did that in passing. She was actually doing it as a joke at one point. But then her friend told her, hey, it's bringing in a lot of revenue. A lot of people are coming to see it. Keep perpetuating the story. So that's what she did.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so once again, that's right back to what we was talking about at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Clickbait creators wanting to create something out of nothing, and that makes people like us, who's true researchers or true investigators that go out and look this stuff, want to get the truth about these things out there. You're running into a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have turned this into a horror movie field, where Bigfoot's a killer and Dogman's a killer. And the sad thing is, though, is like it's probably not going to turn out being that way. I think if we ever discover Bigfoot, we're gonna find that they don't go out of their way to hurt people. And same with Dogman. I think we're gonna learn the same thing about them, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was," you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yep, that was it. And it, you know, Roxanne, you're right, because I mean, I recently, about 7 months ago, got a report not too far from me of someone that was driving down J Highway and seen a Bigfoot, and his head was over the 911s that sat on top of the stop sign. So I can tell you now, from the top of the 911s to the ground is roughly 12 feet, and his eyes were over the top part of the 911. The 911s are the green signs that you see, private drain lanes, you know, state, county roads, stuff like that. Those are called 911s because that's what 911 uses to find where they're going. Hey, Thomas. So he had going down J Highway, heading to Everton, Missouri. He seen eyes above the top part of the 911s, which would put him around the 13 foot to 14 foot range, given depending on the height of his cranium. He's sitting right around that. So I mean, 15 footers. I mean, it's possible. Most common I hear is 12, but I have heard stories.
Yeah. I mean, you got to wonder though if those are actually just stories, though. You know, because I mean, there is biology to consider too. Something bipedal would have a very hard time walking around when it's 15 feet tall. So,
well, huh?
People hate to hear it. They hate to hear the scientific part of it, but you know, I mean, that's how we're going to get answers is through science. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that we know skeletal structure wise is been that height is what actual giants are. Most of them they're usually around 10 to 15 foot. You know, look at DA and his crew. Did I miss a comment, Roxanne? If I did, I apologize. Look at DA and his crew. What did I miss? What
happened with DA and his crew?
Yeah. I must have missed something. If Roxanne, I apologize if I missed something.
Wait, Bigfoot Ontario. That's Mike Patterson, right?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. So with Bigfoot Ontario, I think, Ruth, you should kind of look into him a little bit because he was kind of exposed as a hoaxer. So you might want to be really careful. Yeah, you didn't hear the voice calls from his roommate where it was his roommate making the voices for him. So when you heard Mike, brother, that was his roommate doing it.
No kidding.
Wow.
I'm behind on the stuff.
Yeah, check that out.
Is the one thing. No, DA comes from Ferry. The eyes getting closer before they got on the. Oh! You're talking about the dogman down there in Joe Bald. Okay, yeah. Yeah, they had them eyes. They were getting surrounded down there in Joe Bald. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So
Ruth says yes.
Mike Patterson. Yeah, look into Mike Patterson though. Even one of his photographs, they lightened it up so you could see the details. It was a mask. He was wearing 2 masks. So he was hoaxing a Bigfoot photo. And I'm sorry, once you start hoaxing stuff, you lose all credibility. That's it. It's game over for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, and that's one thing. Like I create artwork for my show quite a bit because I do it for my books. I do it when I'm trying to tell a story on a video, or I'm trying to reference something as close as possible. Because the sheer fact that there's a possibility that I can get in trouble for stealing somebody's stuff, which is something I don't want to do. Most of the time, I create my own stuff because of that. But I'll tell you right off back, this is my artwork. This is what I created. This is straight from my brain. But a lot of people do it and claim this is real, and that hurts us. It really does.
It does. Well, people wonder why we're a laughing stock. Why, the general public will look at us and go, "Oh, you're into cryptids," ha 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 ha, because hoaxers make us look stupid.
I want to
Yeah,
get
see,
back
David
up
knows.
here. I missed something.
David knows what's up. Yeah, see, David, you know what you're talking about, man.
Thomas, I'm kind of curious. What did he look like? Thomas says Gugwe is one of the thing you don't want to run into. I've seen one once. I would love, if you wouldn't mind, if you have no problem talking about it, let me know what that looked like. I am very curious on what it looked like.
Mm-hmm. And what was the behavior like?
Yes. And that's straight coming because I love researching things and I love encounters. And that's why I have campfire chats every Saturday, is because I'm a firm believer if we don't share our encounters, then we lose them and we don't learn. So that's 100% where I'm coming from. I love hearing about this stuff. It is the ones you can't see, you have to worry about. Yeah.
We got to share research too. I mean, sharing stories is one thing. Mm-hmm. That's great to have that campfire story, but we got to start sharing research as well so we can start exchanging information, because there's so much miscommunication in this field that it's ridiculous, dude.
Yes. I mean, prime example, I was telling you, like, dude, because you had that ordeal a couple weeks ago where you couldn't come on. It's not my place to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. You had a personal family issue to take care of. I'm a big believer. That's why I say it that way. That's why I was like, dude, you got to check out what I captured because I think it's important. I actually caught them talking. William says it sounded like what was it, Ojibwe and Lakota, if I remember correctly. It was two different languages, but they were two males and a female talking.
Nice.
And I caught all that. Yeah. That's why I love sharing it with anybody I know who's actually going to be legitimate about research. I'll share my stuff with them. That's why I do this on my shows. If I find something, I share it.
That's what we got to do.
I'm a believer in that.
So many people believe that whole thing of if I have evidence, I have to keep it to myself. We're not going to get anywhere that way. It's not going to work. And that's just my opinion. But I'm sure there's going to be people out there that disagree. But it's true, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I'm one of those. I like to share my stuff. I'll get you. I remember that one, Roxanne. Yeah. They had. I think it was 6 different eyes that was coming at them during that time when they were trying to haul butt back to that boat. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
You pottied in the house. You know better.
Uh-oh. Someone's in trouble.
Yeah. He's probably one of the hardest dogs I've ever had to potty train. But yeah, that's why I love doing that stuff. And that's why I'm always going to share it. I show my pictures that I get.
You should.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I did that show on those vocals and everything else I captured. I think it's important. We need to learn. This stuff shows behavior. When you learn behavior, you can start piecing things together. So you take what you find and you tie that with history and you tie that with other encounters, you start getting a picture. And that picture becomes more clear with the more stuff you find. And then finally you're going, Eureka, this is what we got going on.
Exactly.
It's amazing. Oh, and when you can tie, like, not only is it tying your encounters together, but tying other people's encounters, but when you can tie your encounters with history, that's when you go,
Yeah, we're on to something here. Yep.
Yeah, that's why I love it. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I believe that's what I know. I've got a couple new members in here. Saturdays at 5:00 Central. I have what's called Campfire Chats. Those are created by the subscribers. That's what that show's for. Is you have a safe place to share your encounters because I love hearing that. It wasn't Parrot Dog. It was Boar Firewater. It was Boar who did it. Being a pain in the butt. Snow was very good about letting me know, which is, now that I think about it, probably the reason why he was up my butt so bad is he wanted to go outside, but he knows. Yeah. He's not at snow level yet. He can't hold. Oh, she's good about that.
Dang, she told you, dude. Yeah, wow.
She's good. She's good about that.
Yeah.
She likes snow. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear. I'm sorry, I forgot. I think that was Thomas who said that, and I'm going to double check, make sure I ain't wrong on the names. Had that encounter. I'm trying to go up here. Oops, man, this thing
Yeah,
just
I'm
jumped on
curious
me
about
again. Daggone it.
I'm very curious as to why he said it was a Gugwe. I'm very, very curious about it.
Yeah, it was Thomas. Yeah, I mean, Thomas, please, by all means, I would love to hear that. Hey, Joanne. No worries, no worries. That's the good thing. It's going to be on YouTube, so you can always go back and catch it. It's good to see
That's
you in
what
here.
replays are for.
Mhm. But oh, good. We're still good on time. I was trying to think of something else we need to kind of hit when we're learning about what we call Gugwe nowadays. Something else that might be vital.
Well, I think we need to pay attention to their behavior. I think, like if we're in the presence of one, it's really important to note how they interact with us. Are they breaking trees? Are they throwing rocks? Are they making vocals, pounding their chest? What are they doing? Because I mean, if we're not getting anything different from, say, like a typical Bigfoot encounter, then we can't really say it's a Gugwe instead of it's a Bigfoot. We have to know all the little details, and even small things like, was there a smell in the air? What did their vocals sound like? Was it more simian or monkey-like? Was it more human-like? Because the more we know, the more we can differentiate Gugwe, Dogman, Bigfoot, whatever. So we have to know all the details.
Right. And I mean, that's why, like for me, I don't think I've ever had an encounter with one of them.
Right.
But for me, like, I get that kind of that deathly smell from time to time, or that wet dog or rotten meat smell. Usually it's one of those three. I get that from time to time. Hold on one second here. Some people get Gugwe and Dogman mixed up. I believe you're right, Roxanne. I really honestly believe that is a problem. Yes.
I agree 100%. In fact, Kenny Thibodeau and I talked about that.
Lost Yeah. And, I mean, you brought up something earlier, the hyena Dogman. I've never been one to subscribe to the hyena Dogman, just because I know from ancient cultures that they have, like the Celtics, big on this, even in Africa, especially South Africa. They put on skins and transform into hyenas, but Celts have been known to do that as well.
Sure.
That's why I've never been one to subscribe to the hyena Dogman. I think it's more of a shapeshifter.
Well, in my case, so I can tell you, it
honestly,
wasn't a shapeshifter. This one definitely was not a shapeshifter. What I saw, that's what it was. That it was a hyena-like creature, and I don't think we can even call them dogmen, though. In my case, I think the hyena creature I saw was a hyena type of creature, but we can't call it dogmen, though, because hyenas aren't canines. They're not related to canines in any way, shape, or form. So to call them hyena dogmen, we're kind of mixing and matching things, and we shouldn't do that.
Right. And there's there's plenty of stories about this in history, about these type of creatures, the hyena type ones. There's a lot of them. But you never once hear them referred to on the werewolf side of it. Well, let's put it that way. On the dog side of it, you never hear that. It's always their separate thing. And that's why I've always been, I think they're separate.
With the African tail you're talking about, though, with the were hyena, it's because it's very, very specific. Okay, and much like the skinwalkers, there has to be a certain combination of things, certain ingredients, if you will. And if those things aren't present, it can't be that kind of shapeshifter. It's not like the Aborigine tribes teach outsiders their practices. They don't. It's just like the indigenous tribes here. So, you and I, we have indigenous blood, so we could learn things from our tribes, okay? But, not the common person is going to learn how to become a skinwalker, just like the average person isn't going to learn how to become a were hyena, because it's a religious practice for them. It's sacred, so it doesn't go outside of their tribes. So for a shapeshifter like a hyena thing to be here, it's very, very minimal. It's not likely to happen.
Right. Thomas said Gugwe is more baboon-like. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of talking about. He goes, the one I saw was like a werewolf from Van Helsing. So that's going to be more like your I can't speak today. Oh man, my tongue ain't working.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was you. Yeah. That's interesting, Thomas. That really is. Amy, it's good to see you.
Yeah, it seems more like
that's very interesting.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roxanne. You're awesome.
You're a legend,
That
Roxanne.
is right. Yeah. She's my OG, man. She's my mod. I love the hell out of her. She does me good. She keeps me on the straight and narrow.
She's a ride or die chick, though, man. If she likes you, man, she'll go all the way.
Every now and then I'll start hearing clack, 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 and I got to look, make sure her chomper monsters ain't coming at me, but she's got me.
Yeah, she's cool like that, man. Thank you, Roxanne. I appreciate you.
Yes. And like I said, guys, I will have it in the chat after we're done because I rushed it and forgot to put it in there. And if you guys get a chance, the countdown music was by a local artist named Justin Larkin. Go to justinlarkinmusic.com. His website is in the description. He's a local artist here in the Springfield area. He's the one that does that. That song is called No Gravestone, and he's a really good local artist.
Yeah, that's a good intro, man. I like that.
Yeah, I'm truly blessed. He's getting a studio built now, and we're going to be doing some more stuff together when it comes to music for my shows. Nice. He's awesome. He is talented. We used him at our Rock and Ride fundraiser. Man, it's been a while. It's been a long time ago. That man has got some talent. I mean, he has got some talent.
Yeah. Damn. Nice.
Roxanne, I got my final jumper monster. Yeah, that's my favorite song that he wrote. He wrote that song, and that's my favorite one that he does. And man, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Piece of advice: don't become dinner when you're out there. Yeah, that's what I always tell people, man. I don't want to wind up as a steamy pile of poo on the forest floor when I'm out investigating. Exactly.
No.
I'd give them diabetes, but I mean, I'm a screamer. If I gotta go, I'm gonna go out screaming.
All right, the only way to do it.
Heck yeah. Let's see, we should do good. But yeah, the smell. So, what on the Native American side of this? Do they describe a smell with them? I'm kind of curious on that.
No, they don't. That's what's really fascinating. Is like you can look high and low, you won't find anything describing the smell. All right. But when you get to modern day sightings, that's when the smell thing comes in. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on there, because the tribes would know. They would smell this thing from far away if it had one. The fact that they didn't have it, it's like, what happened? Why? What's going on?
Heck yeah. So that's actually interesting because, if we know from Native American lore and other encounters that Shiai Tonka does have a smell. It's usually not a very pleasant smell. Fluffy burrito, oh yeah. The fact that they don't have a smell, that's kind of interesting. That's something I didn't know. Dude. Yeah. You really got me thinking now on that.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, there's so much to learn from the indigenous folklore that I can't understand why people aren't studying it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people are just skipping it over. But, hey, it left room for me to do it. So, okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. Like I was talking about earlier, is like every time I try to research anything on this, I keep getting the modern theory behind these things. I was like, man, I don't want modern. I want old. I want the traditional stuff. I don't want modern. I want traditional because, like I said earlier, I believe you need to go back in history and work your way up. And then, I mean, that's how you learn. And
best way to do it, though, brother.
Sadly,
don't even look online. Don't go on Google. Try to find your local tribes. Go to your local tribes and speak to them personally. That's the best way to do it.
Which down here we got the Cherokee Res and the Boot Heel. That would be the closest one for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Thomas, that's an interesting theory right there. That's a very interesting theory that they have the scent glands under their arms because that is a primate thing. Mountain gorillas have chemical signals that's under their arms that they use to scare off any intruding males or any, animals they don't want around. So that would suggest that maybe, just maybe, Bigfoot's a primate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Which, if you think about it too, most of your animals, I mean, we're going to go on the animal side of it. They all let off a certain smell to either A, attract a mate, or B, ward off a predator.
Right.
You know,
Makes you wonder,
so
doesn't
is
it?
that what we're dealing with? Mm-hmm.
And when I say primate, I'm not saying that Bigfoot's a type of monkey. Okay, humans are primates. So when I say primates, I'm kind of covering the whole area there. It's a blanket term.
Let's see. I'm trying to think how I can say this without getting in trouble.
Here we go.
The female species of Homo sapien, when they are ready, they even put off a smell.
Mm-hmm.
All about the pheromones. Absolutely right.
Yep.
So, I mean, yes, humans, they do as well.
I mean, men give off smells too.
Yeah.
They have pheromones of their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's some women out there that prefer their men not to shower after work because, their pheromones are the strongest after they've exerted themselves. So women are like, oh, no, don't shower because your pheromones are just, so.
Man, I've been through Indiana, but I haven't stayed there. But yeah, that'd be fun.
I think I was there one time as a kid long ago.
Yeah. Gray Eagle won't mess with Gugwe. I think Gray Eagle will probably try to whoop some butt. Roxanne says I'm like that. Yeah, it's true. But I mean, we all do. We're primates, and like we talked about, we let off pheromones as well. I mean, that is part of our biological structure. That's how we attract mates. A copperhead. When a copperhead's close by, it's going to let a musky smell off to ward you away, going, "Hey, I'm a copperhead. Don't mess with me." Rattlesnake uses its rattles. A skunk uses its spray to ward off predators. Most of your mammals, especially mammal species, has a smell or of one type or another for one reason or another. Your deer, does have a smell during mating season that it is extruded from a gland right next to their hoof. There's a little gland. If you look at on a female deer, it's right next to their hoof. During mating season, they let off a smell to attract a buck. Once again, mammals do that.
Mm-hmm.
If a woman has a red or a blonde hair, they need to cover that up. Uh-oh. We're getting into the redheads. Kevin says, I thought it was alcohol. That's another one. That's an artificial smell right there, Kevin. That is an artificial smell. That's it right there. Roxanne's on it. Oops, I'm a redhead. I knew that one was coming. But so I mean that's interesting that it's a good theory. I mean, so in some instances it's kind of almost like Shiite Tonka. Their smell is completely different. Where what we call Gugwe nowadays, the Kukwi, they don't have a smell, at least one that we could pick up.
I mean, that could be a predatory thing too, though. I mean, if you stink, if you walk around smelling all the time, your prey is going to know you're there. Now, if you don't have any natural odor, you're going to hide from the prey easily.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got my sassy pants on. Yeah, Firewater, you're absolutely correct. I mean, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it because a lot of people will look at humans and go, "Oh, we're humans. We're the spirit." No, we just got lucky and got to a certain level, but we're no different than all the other mammals out there in the waters or on land. We're really not that much different.
Very true. Very, very true. So, but I think I got to jump down, though. I think my dog needs to go out. He's looking at me like, I got to pee.
bro. Yeah, it's a little late for me on that one.
Oops.
Brother, I appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure, man. Anytime you want me on, you let me know.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, we'll get some more of this done.
All right, man.
So,
Sounds great.
and
Everybody have a great night then.
heck yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. I'll catch you later.
Sorry, my chat was jumping. See you, bro.
See you, man.
Except we have guns. Yes, see. Thomas, you're right, but yeah, there's like chimpanzees have been known to make spears and use. I mean, other mammals have been known to make weapons and use them. It's we may have guns, but they've been known to do that as stuff as well. If I were, don't be messing with us redheads. Man, guys, that was so cool having him on here. Thank you, David. We try. It's nice when I can have somebody on with it. A lot of times I do the shows by myself, but when I'm talking about a subject that I'm not real familiar with, I try to like to get somebody on that's more knowledgeable because they're going to be more insightful than I am. But a lot of times, most of the times, 98% of the times, I'm doing these shows by myself. So it's such a blessing being able to have people like Ryan on, or Jessica, or William, or DA, or somebody on. So it's great. I do want to let you guys know my Vangerian Guard Book 1 House of Battle is available on audio now. So if you're interested in the audio books besides the Kindle, the paperback, and hardback, you now have that one available. Viking Age is going to take a little longer. The gentleman that is producing the audio book for my Viking Age, he was in the California fires. So I told him that not being able to get it done in time frame is fine. That's why it hasn't been out yet either. I completely understand. I'm trying to get things set up for here in a little bit when we get ready to shut it down. If my computer will load up, but it's being slow. You guys got any more questions about this subject, or what you guys want me to do? There it goes. It finally loaded up. The next subject you want me to do, I don't know what I'm doing next week. I haven't decided what I'm doing next Sunday. I'll have to think about it. I've been busier and hiccup, so I'm with work, so I'm a little behind on a lot of stuff. But I was really looking forward to doing this one with Ryan. I'm so blessed that he was able to come on. He is a fountain of information. Oh, that's what I'm hearing. The wind's picked up. That's why I looked over earlier. I thought I heard something at my window, but it's the wind. I just heard it. From you said about your sighting, sounds like a dog. Man, that's what kind of what we're talking about too. Oh, you're welcome, Deidre. You're so welcome. Oklahoma siege. Oh, I forgot about that one. I wonder who's going to be the most knowledgeable on that one. I'm writing it down so I can try not to forget it. You know how my memory is. Oh, and a side note, I just finished chapter 15 last night of Beast of the Ozarks First Kill. So I'm getting close to having it done. And where it ties into the Saga of Grimsons is about ready to get explained in the next chapter. I will look into that one, Roxanne. I'll look into that one. That sounds familiar. I'm going to have to read over it to get refamiliarized with it. I think I've heard about that like a year or so ago. But I will look into it. I'll keep that in mind. It's not a good idea for next week. Do you guys got any questions on anything else you want me to go over? We got about 10 minutes. And that one's a scary one. I'm going to have to look into that one definitely. Is the wind picking up at your house, Roxanne? Because they are here. I would love to get Cable. I need to ask him about that. I would love to get him on one time. Yeah, that would be. I mean, Cable. I'm getting a kick out of that dude. That's my devil dog right there. I can't remember, Roxanne. I'm going to have to look into it. I don't want to speak falsely about it. That's why I need to read into it to make sure. He may have. That may have been the one I heard it from, Dawn, but I can't remember. Okay, yeah, I was thinking it was, man. I knew it wasn't windy earlier, but it seems to have picked up today. It was cold when I went to that because I left. I got down to at the shrine at 7:30 this morning. It was a little chilly, but when I left, it wasn't bad at all. I overslept this morning, accidentally slept through my alarm, so I was running just a wee bit behind. It was windy on Long Island last night and got cold again after a few days. Yeah, it did here. It got 27 degrees when I left this morning, Joanne. Yeah, in Missouri's like, you got used to that warm weather. Hold my beer and watch this, buddy. Got down into the high 20s last night. I need to. So, being this weekend, I didn't get a chance to put that parabolic mic out. Next weekend, I am going to try to do that again to see if I can't catch some more vocals and some more whoops and howls. I'm going to try to do that a little bit more often. I was going to do it this weekend, but man, I was so tired because, like I said, I've been busier than a hiccup at my work. And I slept a lot this weekend. Was in the high 60s here today. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it was. I mean, we were hitting high 70, mid 70s last week. DA said he talked to a brother and family and won't do any interviews because of people saying they're crazy. I talked to DA about it. Yeah, that's the sad thing, and that's what hurts us in this. He is not in here right now, Firewater. He is. Oh, that was him in the living room. I thought that was Bucky for a second. That was actually Snow. He's in the living room barking at something. He's probably barking at the wind on him. But I'll give him a kiss for you. I'll make sure of it. And that's the bad thing, because when we're trying to get these encounters and get these encounters out there, there's still some people, not as many as there used to be, but there's still some people that is very scared about coming out because there's still people to make fun of us for talking about it. I'm just saying, I'm at that dilly gaff phase. I really don't care what you think. I'm going to present to you what I show, what I've caught and stuff like that. And that's in paranormal, supernatural, cryptid, mythological, whatever it is that I investigate and I capture. I'm going to share it. I mean, you're either going to believe me what I captured or you're not. I mean, that's on you. I can't make you. I mean, I'm not going to force somebody to do it. And just like I won't force somebody to share an encounter. And that's why I always tell anybody, you want me to do a video on an encounter you have, email me at decryptedandmythological@gmail.com. If you want to be anonymous, I'll keep you anonymous. I'm very big on that. Thank you, Diaries. And I do that for that reason, because people are that way. So yeah, I get that. It is Let the Monsters In. I will, as soon as we're done, I will put his information. I'll edit the information and put it in there, so it'll be in the description of the show. And that's why I don't associate with an organization, because like I've talked to an organization. I'm not mentioning names. And they never got back with me. And all of a sudden, one actually comes out and does something because of a documentary I was in. And he's like, holy crap, you've got a lot of activity here. Yeah. So that's why I don't associate with a certain organization. I missed it, Firewater. I missed it. The planet alignment and solar flares are making people tired. That's probably what it is. I know yesterday, man, I got really sick to my stomach. And thank you, Roxanne. I got really sick to my stomach. So I was like, I want to lay down, watch me some Ghost Hunters for a little bit. Then I'm going to get up and get back to work. I ended up falling asleep until it was time to come live yesterday. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll look into into it, or actually, we can do a show next week on that. I'll look into it. If you got any information on it, hit me up. I want to try to get as much as I can on that, and that way I can be as knowledgeable as possible on that. But yeah, I don't have an issue on doing one on that. I'm just not as familiar with it, and I'll probably remember it once I start looking over it. A lot of stuff I'll forget until I'll start looking over it again. My son thinks that I'm in a cult to my spiritual and political beliefs. Man, a lot of people are that way, Firewater. Sadly, they are. To each is their own, Everybody was born with God's, oh, meow. What, honey? Where are you at? Where'd you go? No, not you. But with free will. So I really stopped caring what people think. I mean, they're either they'll think what they want to. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing, fluffy butt? You on your little turd? There's videos on YouTube of a friend telling the story, and they go to an organization sites. There's info on there. Interesting. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, there's a poem that I write that I like to do at the end of this show. Before we do that, to all my new subscribers, thank you so much. All my new guys, all to my OGs, you guys are awesome. I'm truly blessed that every single one of you guys come listen to this Hillbilly Talk every weekend. Yeah. I mean, I tell you, it's been, this weekend has been really an odd one for me. But yeah, I want to thank every single one of you guys. You guys are awesome. Firewater, thank you so much for the super sticker today. You're badass. I appreciate it. Everybody give a hand to Roxanne, Corey, and William. They're my mods. These guys do great. I'm truly, truly blessed for all of these guys. And so I want to thank you guys so much for the help. And the poem goes, there comes a time when a warrior falls. They leave this realm and be missed by all. Raise a glass and keep them in your heart. They have kept this realm safe and performed their part. Look to your veterans, your active duty, your EMTs, and the blue line. What they do or have done was walk that fine line. When the demon comes calling on your soul, they will be there to save us all. Hold them in their prayers, for they are deserving. They all have served or are serving. To all my veterans, my EMTs, blue line folks, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. You guys know I'm a vet. I've got a real soft spot for my brothers and sisters. I can't thank you guys enough for what you guys have done. I mean, some of you guys served before I did, allowed me the opportunity to serve. So I'm truly blessed and thankful for that. And to the guys that picked up the mantle when I put it down, thank you for doing that. Oh, you're welcome, Deidre. Yeah, you're welcome. I love doing this stuff. I mean, I'm truly blessed to be able to do this with you guys and share this stuff with you guys. You guys are awesome. So until next week, until next week, guys, peace, love, and blessings to you all. And we'll see you again.